Hello, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, and those of you who identify as an Apache Attack 6 helicopter. I am rvbshard, and let's get right back into Day 2 of E3 with another teardown. This time we're going to hit up Microsoft and Bethesda's conferences, and I've got to be honest with you, if you guys are expecting me to be fucking full of venom and rage and shit, you might want to just stop the video here, because there's not a lot for that. I may have blown my load a little too soon with EA because they were incompetent dick munches, but let's go for it anyway. We'll start with Microsoft, we'll do the pros and cons like we usually do. There was none of that with EA's conference because it was all cons because they're fucking idiots. But anyway, let's go. So, Microsoft, pros. First up, they actually had games. They showed up with some content. They had some exclusives. You had the new Halo, you had Gears, you had a couple of other like interesting little things, but nothing like mind-blowing. Nothing that fucking blew my socks off and was like, oh my god, that's fucking amazing. I have to fucking dig out my Xbox One and fucking get another Xbox Live subscription. Nothing, right? We had more gameplay of Crackdown and stuff like that, and that was great. And I dig Terry Crews. That guy is fucking awesome and hilarious. And if I get to play as Terry Crews in Crackdown 3, I'll probably buy it. But there was content for once. Last year's E3 for Microsoft was a total fucking shit show, but for this year they had content, and for that I applaud them. The other big pro for me was the pacing. Pacing in a conference like that can be a total killer if it's not done right. Microsoft seems to have learned from the bullshit that they pulled the last couple of E3s, where they'd have celebrities that we don't give a shit about, or fucking like athletes, or they'd have fucking a car that they'd bring and put on stage. This year they didn't do any of that shit, thank fuck. They paid attention to what a games console and a games conference is supposed to be about. The games. So they had like game, pause for breath, game, pause for breath, rinse, repeat. That's what they did, and that is what I like. You're here for games. You're not here to listen to fucking reports on usage or fucking demographics or fucking what they want to do for the future and how they're going to advance. That's for fucking investors, right? You tell that shit to the fucking, the powdered wig fuckers up front who are so crotchety that they don't understand what a video game is. They're still staring at it going, oh, you mean that thing that goes pong? That sort of fucker, right? The rest of us, we just want games. And Microsoft this year has delivered that. And I'm not saying that the games they showed were fucking amazing, or like the stuff there is going to make me dust off the Xbox One, because I'm probably not going to. But yeah, they had pacing, which is something that they were desperately lacking in 2017. So, I applaud them for that. There wasn't really much more pros to go. It was a pretty standard fare. It was lots of games, lots of gameplay, and lots of trailers, which is exactly what you want from an E3 press conference. The cons, however, there was only one big one that screamed to me, which was the fact that they had an entire lineup on stage of Xbox Ones and screens, and they were sorely underused. They were used for like one part of the conference, which was them showing off the new Forza, which to me felt forced. It felt very scripted, because if it wasn't scripted, then the developers have severely fucked up something. Because they basically said that the game was set in the UK. Now, I'm Scottish. I've lived in the UK my entire life. And I know for a fact that you can't get from the coast of England to Edinburgh in less than fucking 8 hours, right? And the thing they were talking about is like how they all met up in the same world and how there was dynamic seasons and all that shit. Sorry, unless the map is really fucking small and you have severely oversimplified the UK geography, then that was scripted as fuck, and it was poorly implemented and it was badly done. Don't get me wrong, I liked how the dynamic seasons looked. If you could put that technology into other games, it would be fucking amazing. But, no. You had these consoles. You had like 20-something consoles set up. We could have had gameplay for anything. You could have shown some Battlefield, you could have shown some Halo, you could have shown some Gears, but no, you just showed Forza, and it didn't land for me. But other than that, the show was pretty decent. It ran for about 2 hours. It was pretty much jam-packed, constantly with games. We didn't have any fucking developers reading poetry. We didn't have fucking anybody coming out looking like they were about to fucking faint if the crowd's reaction was, like, even remotely off. Do I have any? I do, sorry. I'm gonna have to take a drink. My mouth is very dry. Sorry. So you didn't have any of that bullshit. You didn't have any of that stupid filler. They weren't talking about media, like multimedia boxes. They weren't talking about fucking using the Xbox as anything other than what it should be, which is a game platform. Right? And the fact that they were hitting on about their Game Pass system, which is fine. I'm a little concerned that they were talking about learning AI. Look, dude, I fucking grew up in the 90s. Skynet's a really big concern for someone like me. I don't want shit learning what I'm doing. Bad enough with fucking humans spying on shit that I'm doing. I don't want a fucking computer doing it too. But yeah, like, a lot of these games are going to be cross-platform anyway, so I'll check them out on PC. I like the fact that they were talking about a lot of cross-platform stuff. Right, so it's they're kind of trying to break down that wall of the rivalry between, the console gamers and the PC master race. If only fucking Sony would stop being so fucking uptight, then maybe we could have, like, cross-platform actual games with, like, people on PlayStation versus people on Xbox versus people on PC. That sort of stuff. Eventually it'll happen, but just not yet. So, that's Microsoft's conference. There was really not a lot for me to bitch about, as I was expecting to. They kind of ruined it. I had a rage boner going, and then they kind of fucked it over, and I've got a angry Sammy. So yeah, and I have to give them respect for what they did. So my rating for Microsoft is going to be like a B+. They could have done more. They could have used those banks of consoles for more live gameplay of certain games. They could have showed more on the Halo thing, because Halo Infinite, it was just really a trailer. It doesn't tell me anything. If it's going to be online, if it's not going to be online, if it's going to be another sequel to Master Chief, or if it's going to be a prequel, or what. We don't know. There's not a lot of information there. The Gears game actually looked really good to me. People are like, oh my god, a female protagonist. Look, if the female protagonist can carry the action of the game and can deal and can actually, like, drag you into the game and can hold you there and is not a character that is like fucking Anakin Skywalker or a sandy little butthole, then fine. I'm great with it. I don't care what gender the protagonist is. I just want them to be able to, act their way out of a fucking paper bag. So, my rating for them is going to be B+. Alright, so that's it for Microsoft. Let's move on to Bethesda. Pros and cons. Pros for Bethesda stuff. Just finished watching it. Because I couldn't stay up live for it, because it was like 2 a.m. this morning. They had games. They showed stuff. Like, they showed, what was that freaking... I'm trying to think. Expansion for Prey, for DLC. They showed the next Wolfenstein. Again, not really gameplay, more so, trailers. That was fine. They were talking more about expansions to the Elder Scrolls Online, and I'm glad to see that they're not abandoning their MMO. They were talking about Elder Scrolls Legends, which is their card game. Not really a big fan of that. More stuff on Fallout Shelter coming to different devices. Basically talking more about expanding into other games like VR and things like that. We got a teaser trailer for Doom. What was it fucking... I can't remember the name of it, but it was like basically Doom 2, and they teased like Hell on Earth and more demons and stuff like that. And I'm psyched because Doom was awesome. So, more Doom, yes please. They showed off Rage 2, which was surprisingly interesting. I wasn't expecting it to be, because Rage was one of those games that kind of got lost in the shuffle when it came out, because it was going up against Bulletstorm when it came out. So there was a lot of stuff in it that looked appealing, but, you know, I'm not entirely sold on it yet. I mean, it is an id software game, so those guys know shooters, so it'll probably be pretty solid and fun to play. But I never really played a lot of the first Rage, so that might be a mistake on my part. I might have to go back and play more to get more psyched about this game, but it looked interesting. The stuff on Prey that I mentioned, they're adding a DLC. They're also adding a competitive multiplayer thing, like a sort of reverse prop hunt, where like you play against 5 other players and you're one hunter, so the props can kill you. So I mean, that sounds interesting. It sounds fun, but again, Prey's kind of an expensive game, so for me, they'd have to lower the price quite a bit for me to buy, you know, multiple copies and stuff. The only other really big, interesting pro for me was the fact that they showed Fallout 76, which we knew was coming. We knew about that from the Microsoft conference, because there was a teaser there on that. We knew about it before that anyway, but it looked interesting. Now, I personally have some worries about Fallout, because personally I love Fallout games. I love Fallout 4, Fallout 3, New Vegas. Sorry, I need to take another drink. Water. But my issue with the Fallout games is the engine. Like, I love the game, I love what they do. Making a big, expansive world, lots of quests, lots of things to do. It's a real time sink, and I enjoy it because, you know, you like to get lost in these sort of worlds. So, for me, it looked really interesting, but I'm concerned about the engine, because Fallout 4's engine is buggy as fuck. Fallout 3's engine was bad too, and I don't want them just making like a slight improvement to the engine they've got, especially for a game that they're saying is like 4 times bigger than Fallout 4. And for all these other features that they're implementing, like multiplayer. This is the first time a Fallout game is ever going to have multiplayer. Now, you can still play it single player as traditionally, but you can jump in with your friends. Your friends can join you. You can build up a small settlement. You can do stuff that personally I've always wanted to do with my friends, because I remember lots of times that we've sat down and we've discussed what we've done in our games and what's different in theirs and what quest lines we've done and they've done. So it'll be interesting to see if this works. And I'm kind of psyched about it. But again, there's worries. There's always worries with something like this, for the engine they're using, for how it's going to operate. And Bethesda's never done an online game before, really. They've never had an online RPG. So, again, I'm a little worried about it. Still excited about it. I'm still psyched about it. I want to see it, and I want to play it, and I want to get into that fucking beta and try this shit out. But I'm still a little worried. But we'll see what happens. Cons, on the other hand, the guys that they had on stage, like, they brought out a lot of their own team to show off these games, and a lot of these guys clearly were not ready for a stage performance. They were not ready to be dealing with a crowd of people whooping and cheering. They were not ready for that. You had, like, the guys from Avalanche and Ed, which was basically fucking Little and Large. It was basically like having a fucking Bald Munchkin versus Lurch. It was a very odd visual, and kind of uncomfortable for them to talk to each other. You had, like, the guy from the ESO team, Elder Scrolls Online, who, big jovial guy, but kept kind of falling over his own words. He wasn't ready for that, and it just kind of went that way. The only person who had any sort of stage experience was the main CEO and fucking Todd Howard. Those are the only guys that had any sort of stage experience. And for me, Todd Howard was just cringy. Like, he tried to embrace the memes about him and his fucking constant re-release of Skyrim, which pisses me off to no end because I'm tired of them fucking trying to charge me full price for a game that I already own like twice because I had it on the Xbox and then I got it on PC. Um, but it just came off flat to me. It was kind of forced. I didn't like it. I was like, Todd, just get on with the fucking presentation. Stop trying to embrace the image. And try and make it your own. It's not. We're making fun of you for a reason. Because you're being a butthole. So stop trying to go, oh, yeah, I'm embracing the joke, I'm laughing with you. No, just fucking accept the fact that we're making fun of you because you're being a cunt. Stop being a cunt and we'll stop making fun of you. And they had this sort of weird vignette at the start, which was like showing everybody who works from Bethesda doing all these different activities to go show, hey, we're a company and we're people too. We fucking know. Do you think that anybody who buys a video game goes, wow, those developers are robots? They must have like really 1-0'd hard on this one. No. We know you're people. We know you can fuck up. That's why we get annoyed when you repeatedly ignore the fuck-ups. Because we're telling you that you fucked up. So, I don't know. For me, that was the cons. It was kind of cringy in places. It was a little misguided. I mean, and again, they're kind of re-releasing stuff again. Like, Fallout Shelter's going to the Switch and the PS4. I don't know why it's not already on the PS4. It's been on PC and Xbox and phones for fucking forever. They talked about, what was it, Elder Scrolls Blades, which is supposed to be a free Elder Scrolls game, which will have multiplayer elements to it. I mean, it looked interesting, but the problem I had with it, the big con there for me, was that they were pushing the iPhone X a lot, and they were pushing, instead of just saying what they did later on, which was, we want it on as many devices as possible, you know, phones, Android, fucking Apple, this, that, and the other, they've really sort of pushed the iPhone X, and that annoyed me because that felt product placement-y to me. The game looks interesting, but I'm not sure it's going to deliver everything that they claim it will. Especially if it's going to be running on phones. And, like, the main fucking bizarre thing they said to me, like, that stuck out in my head, was the fact that somebody can be playing it on phone, and you can be fighting them, like, competing in their arena mode with someone who's playing in VR. There's certain issues you're going to have there, because the player in VR is going to clearly have an advantage, because they have full motion control. Whereas someone on the phone is swiping at a screen. Which, to be honest, 9 times out of 10 can be hit or miss with what you're doing. Plus, I mean, you're sitting there, like, with someone who's doing this on their phone, with someone who has the fucking game there, and who has the ability to do a lot of things with their hands. So, it felt kind of bizarre. But I approve of inclusion of multiple devices. I just think it was a bit weird to point that out. But yeah, that was pretty much Bethesda's the whole thing. It was like an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, roughly. They gave us some stuff. They also did, before I forget, they also teaser trailered for Starfield, which we knew a lot about, like a lot of people knew about that anyway, and they also teased the Elder Scrolls 6. Starfield was the actual surprise. I didn't think they were going to actually show anything. They only showed like a 30-second trailer, or planet view, and then a disappearing starbase. So that's all they did for that. And I'm glad that they're going for a new IP, and they're going to build a new franchise. But again, the Elder Scrolls 6, not exactly a surprise. Anyway, that's it. That's all I've got for today. It wasn't rage-inducing. It was an okay experience. I did get excited for a couple things, not lots. But Bethesda's conference, I'll probably give a solid B. There was some stuff there, and they had some okay pacing. It was a little, it was probably a B-, because of how like off the tone was in certain places, just because of the people that they had on stage who clearly had no fucking idea what they were. They had no experience dealing with crowds of people. You could see that on their faces. So probably a B minus. The content was good. Pacing was okay, and they did have a good chunk of time dedicated to Fallout 76, which is the biggest game that they're going to have this year, and of course it's coming out this year, so yeah. B minus for Bethesda, a B plus for Microsoft, and yeah, we'll need to check out what Sony and Square Enix and Ubisoft and then Nintendo has in the coming day and a bit. So, remember to check out this video, check out the one I did yesterday if you're interested. Leave your comments down below. It really helps me to know what you guys think, because I'm not a mind reader. And yeah, that's it, guys. Check the video out tomorrow. And yeah, peace. And catch you guys on the flip.